December 10th, 2023. An ordinary day turned catastrophic as I collided head-on with fate. Clinically dead for 8 minutes, I witnessed apocalyptic visions for 2025 that could forever alter our world. Stay tuned to discover the shocking truths and warnings you need to hear before it's too late. It all happened on December 10th, 2023, as I drove home from a frustrating day at work, my mind racing with deadlines and design plans. My thoughts were consumed by the pressures of my job, and I barely noticed the world around me. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a car collided with mine, and in that instant, I felt my body go weightless. I remember thinking, this can't be how it ends for me. Little did I know, my heart would stop, and a journey deeper than life itself awaited me. I recall every detail: the blaring of horns, the shattering glass, and the anguished scream that escaped my throat. It was December 10th, 2023, at around 4:45 p.m. The world around me erupted into chaos. In an instant, I remember seeing the other car, the shock registering on the driver's face as our vehicles collided. It felt like time slowed down, and in those fleeting seconds, I grasped at thoughts of my family, my friends, moments I could potentially lose forever. Doctors later reported that I was clinically dead for 8 minutes, a fact that shocked my family beyond words. I can only imagine the panic that must have coursed through them as they gathered in the waiting room, desperately hoping for some glimmer of hope. 8 minutes may not sound long in the grand scheme of life, but in those moments, it felt like an eternity. The weight of that realization pressed heavy against my chest. In those terrifying moments, fear gripped me as darkness enveloped my vision. I had no idea that this darkness was not just an end, but perhaps a beginning. As I lay there, suspended between life and death, it was as though I could hear the muted pulse of my own heartbeat fading into silence. The thought of never seeing the people I loved again clawed at me, a desperate lament echoing in my mind. I wanted to fight against it, to scream, to do anything to escape that enveloping void. But as I embraced that darkness, a chilling realization hit me. This wasn't just an end, but the cusp of something larger, something I couldn't yet comprehend. The fear began to dissipate, replaced by an unsettling curiosity. I felt a strange sense of surrender, as if something was drawing me closer to what lay ahead. And then, just when I thought I could retreat into the shadows forever, the veil between this world and the next began to lift, guiding me into a realm I never knew existed. In an instant, I was no longer in my car. I was floating above it, a silent observer looking down at the chaos below me. I remember the flashing lights of the ambulance and the frantic movements of the paramedics as they rushed to save what felt like a fragile thread of life. It was surreal. This out-of-body experience was unlike anything I could have imagined. An overwhelming sense of calm blanketed me, washing away the pain and fear that had dominated my thoughts just moments before. I felt detached from the surge of adrenaline and panic that typically accompanied such a traumatic event. Instead, clarity enveloped me like a warm embrace, and for the first time in a long while, I could see everything stripped down to its core. Yet, amidst this peaceful detachment, I couldn't help but fixate on the body below, my own, lifeless and battered. The sight was disorienting. Looking down, I desperately wanted to scream. "I am still here!" My instincts screamed at me to make them understand, to tell the world that I was more than just a shell. But as I hovered there, caught in this surreal moment, something else began to unfold. I felt a pull, a beckoning light guiding me towards something monumental. It was not just a physical sensation, it was a profound urge to move forward, to explore what lay beyond this realm of calm. And that is when the visions came. As I followed that light, images began to flash before me, vivid and consuming. I felt a mix of curiosity and trepidation surge through me. What I saw next would shake the foundations of my beliefs about our future. As the light enveloped me, the world around me transformed into bursts of color and motion. Like a movie playing out in fast forward, flashes of scenes erupted into my mind. Chaotic images of destruction and despair unraveled before me. I felt my heart racing, but no longer from fear or panic. Instead, It was from a deep recognition that what I was witnessing was profoundly significant. One of the most harrowing visions struck me with overwhelming intensity. Massive tornadoes ripping through bustling cities, their ferocious winds uprooting buildings as if they were made of paper. I could feel the sheer force of nature behind the destruction, like an angry breath that could sweep everything away in an instant. I almost held my breath, bracing myself as the images morphed into closer views of terrified faces, people running, and a sense of helplessness that clung to the air. It felt so real, so vivid, an experience so palpable, I could almost sense the debris swirling around me. An unbearable weight settled in my chest, and with it came the faintest whisper, echoing softly in the storm. These events are real, and they are coming for humanity. The clarity of that message struck me like lightning, awakening a primal fear deep within. It was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a dream. It was a warning. The urgency of it clawed at me, demanding attention I wasn't sure I was ready to give. Yet, amidst the devastation, what surprised me was not just the chaos but the presence of enigmatic beings guiding me through this tumult. They stood alongside the destruction, watching over me like guardians, their forms blurred but exuding warmth and reassurance. They urged me with their very essence to pay attention, to notice the patterns, to understand the implications of these impending events. There was a dichotomy to their presence. While the scenes around me were horrifying, their energy felt all at once alarming and comforting, compelling me to find meaning in the calamity I had witnessed. The moment chaos surged around me, something extraordinary emerged from the darkness. Spiritual figures appeared beside me, their presence starkly contrasting with the devastation I had witnessed moments before. They radiated warmth and love, a soothing balm to my fragile, terrified mind. I felt an undeniable connection with them, as if they could see directly into my soul. Their light was both comforting and illuminating, cutting through the turmoil that threatened to consume me. As they surrounded me, messages began to unravel, gentle yet powerful, echoing in a way that transcended words. They conveyed to me that these visions were not meant to incite fear but to motivate change. A call to save ourselves and our planet. It struck me how vital it was to act, not from dread but from a place of shared responsibility. I sensed deep down that we weren't meant to be passive observers in the face of impending doom. Rather, we were called to be proactive participants, reshaping the future with every choice we made. Then the visions intensified, unfolding like a series of haunting paintings. I saw natural disasters wreaking havoc, massive floods engulfing streets where laughter and community once thrived, hurricanes tearing through homes, leaving them shattered and empty. Cities lay abandoned, horizons lined with the remnants of bustling lives, now haunted by the ghosts of their former inhabitants. I felt a pang in my chest, a profound sorrow resonating within me, as societal structures crumbled under the weight of conflict and neglect. With every vision came a lesson, a haunting reminder about the choices we make and the consequences that follow. Each image reflected not just destruction, but the urgent call to reassess our values, our actions, and our relationships with one another and the world around us. I found myself grappling with the gravity of this wisdom. It was not just about averting disaster, but about nurturing the very essence of our existence. I wanted to grasp these lessons tightly, to hold on to them as a gentle yet firm directive that could guide us into a new way of living, a way richer in empathy and cooperation. What emerged from this moment with the messengers was a question that lingered heavily in the air. What if these apocalyptic visions serve not just as warnings, but as calls to arms? Are we truly prepared to answer? As they guided me through the chaos, I realized that each vision was an opportunity for reflection. What could they be warning us about? The responsibility felt massive, but so did the hope of a collective awakening. When I opened my eyes in the hospital, everything felt altered. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled my nostrils, and the beeping machines became a strange new orchestra in my life. I was back, but I felt like I had been reborn, transformed by the experience I had just endured. The fear and chaos of my visions still lingered in the edges of my mind, a haunting reminder of what I had seen. I had come back with a purpose, born from the urgency of those apocalyptic warnings that played out before me like a film. Yet, as I lay there, recovering, I was overwhelmed by one burning question. This feeling of a newfound mission weighed heavily on my heart, and I found myself grappling with frustration. I wanted to scream, to shake the world and tell everyone what I had witnessed. But the reality was both stark and sobering. In the face of disbelief and skepticism that loomed like a shadow, I felt small. How could I possibly make a difference when it seemed no one wanted to hear what I had to say? Determined not to let those visions fade into mere memories, I began to take action. I started writing about my experiences, pouring my heart into every word, every sentence. I opened my life to the public, sharing the depths of my transformation and the urgency of the messages I had received. Each time I pressed post, an avalanche of doubt surged within me. Skepticism followed me like a persistent shadow. I braced myself for criticism, but I kept going. I needed to awaken others, to pull them from the sleepwalking state of complacency that had engulfed us all. Despite my fears, I spoke out, sharing my story with anyone willing to listen. I reached out to community groups, joined online forums, and even ventured into local meetups, driven by a desire to spark conversations about what could happen if we didn't take these warnings seriously. But the challenge was daunting. Would anyone listen? And could they truly grasp the severity of my message? The doubt clawed at me, but as I witnessed people's reactions, the flickers of understanding in their eyes gave me a breath of hope. I wasn't just sharing a caution, I was igniting a movement, and with every voice that joined mine, our collective power grew. Now, standing before you, I urge everyone to take a moment to reflect on their own lives. Are we truly willing to let these warnings go unheeded? The visions I witnessed were not just flashes of doom. They were calls to action, urgent reminders that we cannot afford to ignore. We must unite to act before these scenes become our reality. I deeply believe that through collective effort, we can change our path. Each of us holds the power to shape what lies ahead. As I piece together the fragments of my experience, I realize there are essential takeaways for all of us: environmental stewardship, compassion, and unity. These are not just lofty ideals. They are absolute necessities for our survival and for the generations to come. We cannot afford to be complacent, to look away while the world crumbles around us. Instead, we must nurture a profound connection to one another and to the planet we call home. If my story resonated with you, if you felt a stir within your heart, do not let this moment pass. I ask you to subscribe and share this video with others. Let us spread awareness and prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. We can be the catalysts for change, igniting conversations and inspiring action in our own corners of the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Together, we have the power to hold the vision of a brighter future, one where we heed the warnings, learn from our past, and choose the path of responsibility and hope. Your support means everything, and I am grateful to share this space with each of you as we take steps toward a better tomorrow.